Hello, happy Monday. Thanks very much for joining me in this sort of somewhat impromptu get-together. It is the first day of the week. It is also the first day of the urban sketching course here at Sketchbook School, and I am excited to be to be participating in that. Not as a teacher, but as an urban sketcher. And I want to talk a bit about urban sketching and why it's important. I mean, it's important not only because it's a course, not only because a lot of people do cool stuff, but also because I think it is really the foundation of a lot of what we do at Sketchbook School. And I know that there are some of you out there who maybe haven't joined us for this class, maybe feel like it's not for you, or don't have the time, or don't have the money, don't have the inclination. So I thought I would talk a bit about that. I wanted to say hi to, well, first of all, let me say hi to all the people who are out there: Deborah and Linda and Sue and Marina and Andy and Robert and Linda. And thanks very much for joining me today, spontaneously. Pamela. I see there are people from various parts of the United States and from Rotterdam as well, so that's really great. Lots of nice cities and towns, and Scotland as well. Julie's just joined us too, so that's very nice. Thank you for joining me. So what I thought I would do today is I would also share with you one of my very first sketchbooks, and it's one I don't think I've ever really shown in any particularly public way, in part because I'm sure you can relate to this. One's first sketchbook is, potentially embarrassing. This sketchbook is actually 20 years old this summer, so that's how long I've been drawing in sketchbooks. But I wanted to just share it with you anyway, even though it will be embarrassing. Okay, it's kind of like showing photographs of yourself when you were 11 or 13, or had a first mustache or that kind of thing. So this is sort of my very adolescent sketchbook. But I want to show it to you because the point I'd like to make by showing it to you is to say that urban sketching, whether I knew it or not, was kind of central to what I have been doing all along. I think 20 years ago, there was no such that term didn't really exist. Urban sketching. Sketchbooking as a concept was kind of, not quite a thing either. But anyway, so this first sketchbook of mine is really how I first learned, how I first started to incorporate having a sketchbook into my life, into my daily existence, and really having it be my loyal companion, my friend that was with me at all times. And that's how I filled it. So I thought I would show you some of the kinds of things that I drew, and you'll see how many of them fall into this very, very kind of loose category of urban sketching. And so I'm going to just switch cameras here so I can show you that more specifically. I'll lose my ugly mug here for a second. I just want to do one technical thing. Take me 1 second. And yes, I think I can do it. 1 second. Maybe not. Okay, so here it is. This is my number one. It is, and here's my number one pen also, actually. And here's my Sketchbook School sticker. Hopefully you guys have been getting them. If you haven't, well, they're a treat, and they're nice to put onto your sketchbook if you do get one. Hold on 1 second. I just want to see technically if I can put my own face in here. No, possibly not. Okay, so hopefully you all can hear me, and thanks for the rest of you for joining me, Anita and Rabia. No, I'm not. Yeah, there's no Sue. I'm not actually going to be apparently in the picture. Sorry about that. I thought I was going to be, but I'm getting ahead of myself technically. So let me just focus instead on. Let me just see this one more time. No. Okay. Rather than disconnect you and screw things up, I will just try and. Oh wait, maybe this will do it. No. Okay. Anyway, so yes, so you will see. Sometimes you'll see me. Here I am. Hi. Waving, and sometimes you will see my book on my other camera. Okay, so hello to everybody else: Adriana, Rabia, Catherine, Anita, and Joan. So this book it would appear to be sort of special because it's in a slipcase. It seems fancy, I know, but it's not actually that fancy. What happened was I bought this book, and it was not a very good sketchbook. It really isn't. It's kind of lousy paper. But at the time, I was taking a class in bookbinding because I wanted to get better sketchbooks. 20 years ago, when I started drawing, back in the last century, you guys may remember it. Back in those days, there were really not that many choices in sketchbooks, and there really wasn't that much choice in paper. So I took a class in order to learn how to make my own sketchbooks with my own kind of paper, and my own size, all those kinds of options that really didn't exist much in those days. But so I made a slipcase for this book long after I had filled it. So it seems fancy. It isn't really that fancy. Okay. Back to this book. So, as I said, it's a simple kind of sketchbook. It's right. It is thin paper, but here it is, June 24th, 1997. So a long time ago, far, far away. And I began with this picture of Einstein for some reason. And also a little quote here that says, "Catch then, oh, catch the transient hour, improve each moment as it flies. Life's a short summer, man a flower, he dies, alas, how soon he dies." From Samuel Johnson. Anyway, it was about summer. And this is basically 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks that it took me to fill this. Okay? So here it is, the very first drawings I was doing. Here I was drawing, I think, probably from TV or something, or the newspaper. It's Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's widow. And they're sort of drawing in pencil. But here, this is a drawing that I did during lunch one day at work. I had this book with me. I went out to Central Park, which was near my office at the time, and I did this drawing of these trees. So technically an urban sketch. I was in a city. You can see the railing along the edge of the road there. And here's another one that I did at the same time. Trees and so forth, part of the road. I also wrote down here, tuna on rye, potato chips, Coca-Cola, because I had just done it at lunchtime. Rob Hyang Tanoon. Hello, welcome. I'm just showing my very first sketchbook, which apparently contains a lot of urban sketching, which I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. But here I'm sitting in a park. You may recognize this if you've ever been to New York, Rockefeller Center. There's this kind of thing with this guy holding up a giant globe. And there I drew that. People sitting around, bushes, stuff. More people sitting around, just drawing people, eating lunch. You can see my line quality, very sketchy still. Not confident, a lot of hesitation, a lot of approximation, things that do not necessarily make for great drawings. Here's another one, another drawing. This is in Washington Square Park, I think. And here I wrote, playing hooky, Jack is in the playground, so waiting for Patty. So you can see that Here I'm getting kind of fancier with cross hatching, a little overdone, really, but I had figured out like to put heavier lines on things that were in the foreground. It makes them stand up. Lighter lines make things go back. Not a pencil, Rabia. Never draw with a pencil. This is a Uniball Vision. It is a rollerball pen, and it was a great pen. It served me for many years. For the first 2 or 3 years that I drew, that's what I drew with. Washington Square Park again, statue of Garibaldi. Getting a little bit more abstract back here, focusing my attention on that statue. But again, the park is near my house, so I would go out whenever I could and just draw. Drawing at lunch, drawing in the evening, drawing garbage cans. A lot of these park garbage cans are very distressed and beaten up, kind of distorted, so I was interested in that. I wrote, "Who trashed these cans?" Here's another little tree. Another little poem here. A slim elm by the playground. See, I'm doing cross-hatching, kind of getting into shading. And sort of inaccurate drawing of a person reading a book. Another little snapshot almost of part of some hot dog carts with their umbrellas, some signs, lamps. This is urban sketching. This is urban sketching, This is all it is, just drawing stuff around you. Here, this is in Central Park again, I'm pretty sure. It's a long time ago since I drew this, but it's a statue of a man. I think that's Hans Christian Andersen. Yes, it is. Hans Christian Andersen, Central Park. There's Patty. There's Jack sitting on his lap. Various other things. So, we would just go to the park, hang out, and Jack would be playing, and I would be drawing. There he is, this sort of strangely distorted picture of Jack in his high chair. Not technically an urban sketch, so we'll pass on. Dogs, more drawings of Jack. Some more drawings of Jack. Drawing of a dying sunflower. I think these are blind contour drawings of a sunflower. My old dog Frank, long deceased, sleeping, more blind contours. Garlic, strawberry plant growing in a pot. Some of my taxidermy collection. This is my sister was in the hospital. It wasn't a terribly big deal. I think she was having some kind of minor procedure, but it was the first time, that she was in the hospital. We were all kind of concerned about it, and so this is me sitting in the waiting room. Chairs, seats, somebody's bag, people sitting around reading the newspaper, waiting. So again, more urban sketching type stuff, although hospital sketching in this case. And then a little tree outside, some notes to myself, a drawing of an electrical outlet. More people. There's my sister napping after anesthetic. Another garbage can. That was. Oh yes, she went to the bathroom for the first time. They wouldn't release her from the hospital until she'd gone to the bathroom, so we were all waiting for her to go to the bathroom. And there, she drew, and I flush. It says there flush. So anyway, here's a junkie passed out on a bench. Street sign, bus, other people sitting around. This is in my house. You might recognize some of these drawings. They were in Everyday Matters, because this is really the first sketchbook I did that began my passage to what became Everyday Matters. Negative space. You can see I'm just learning all these things that I've been kind of talking to other people about doing for a long time. Drawing some cartoony stuff, more drawings of Jack. This is a little piece of sculpture we had on the balcony, and it had a plant growing up it. It's another view out of our building. It's the same view I can look at right now, this minute. It's barely changed in 20 years. It's still there. So, and you can see some of the drawing books I was reading. Other stuff around. See, here I'm trying to get sort of technical with my drawing, because I think, like a lot of people who first start out drawing, you read these books that tell you, as obviously I was reading all these books back here, Keys to Drawing and various other things, and they tell you all about how to, draw lines on faces. I don't really do that anymore. Now I just kind of draw what I see, but in those days I was very anxious and looking for confirmation and support and steps on how to get things done, so I did a lot of this sort of stuff. It's an early self-portrait, drawing of my dog Paul, Patty sleeping. Notice that I whited out, I seemed to have given her a mustache. She might have objected to that. It's not a very flattering set of pictures anyway, but these are drawings from paintings, Picasso, Frans Hals, the subway, more drawings of Jack's toys, Central Park. I was quite proud of this drawing. It was part of an ice cream truck. Oh, you're asking why I draw on only one side, Katrina asks. Because this is lousy paper. Lousy paper. You can see how it's already bleeding through here, so I figured that out pretty quickly. Do not draw on both sides. So that's why. I'm glad I did do it that way. Frank again. Yeah, little sketches. Just kind of thumbnails almost. More drawings of just like people. Yeah, this is on a bus, the M5 bus. So I'm just drawing other people sitting on the bus. Playground. I spent a lot of time in playgrounds in those days. So this is 1997, which means that Jack was 6. So, any of you who've had a 6-year-old know what that's like, 5 or 6. So it was just before his 6th birthday. Spent a lot of time on the playground. Another selfie. Large potato nose. Jack in the bath. I was quite proud of this drawing at the time. Again, a lot of negative space. A lot of kind of time spent on the shading. I think I was trying to draw this area around the bottom, the base of the tree. I think looking at it now, it looks like this trunk is way too short, but it was interesting textures, and a couple of pigeons down there. More negative space of a tree. That's just some exhibit somewhere. More drawings of Jack. Found it really hard to capture him clearly. This is the atrium of the Equitable building. There's some strange sculpture there. I'm also drawing people. This is another lunchtime drawing, sitting around with people. Valerie, you don't know how to start. Well, you saw how I started. Just open the first book. I didn't know how to sketch. I did not know. I had not taken any classes. I just was doing it. As you can see, this is in the course of one summer. I was drawing every day, quite a lot of it. So that's how I got better. That's why, this is the part of the reason that I'm sharing this with you, is because of what Valerie just said. It looks like you already knew how to sketch at this time. I don't know how to start. And the fact is, this is how, you may not, I may have been 10 yards ahead of you. I'm not quite sure why. I've drawn on and off. But I started this way, by carrying a sketchbook around with me and by recording what I saw in my life. That is how you start. Now you know. It is really, I hate to be sort of blunt about it, but you get to whatever point you're going to get to by starting and by carrying a sketchbook around with you and recording your life. That is the basis of everything we're doing. So hopefully, Valerie, maybe you're going to be joining us for the urban sketching class. If you do, I think you will see a lot of people who are very, very good at drawing. Many of them draw every single day and have been drawing for many years, and that's why they're as good as they are, of course. But there isn't some magical thing that you learn. There isn't some way that you suddenly know how to do it. This is how it works. You just start doing it, and you do some good drawings. Every 30 drawings is a good one, and then there are many, many ones that are kind of embarrassing to look at. So anyway, that is not, I hate to single you out, Valerie, but there you go. And I think as Robert says, it's not just a sketchbook, it's a journal. Here's a thing that has always been really important to me in keeping going is if I took a course, if I went and took a life drawing class or a course on how to draw in a community center or in a local school, I would quickly find that I was bored. If I wasn't in the class, I wouldn't be drawing. You can get a brief burst of inspiration, but then you find that you don't know what to do next. What are you going to draw next? Do I have to set up a still life? Do I have to have a model? And how do I? And the fact is, I want to spend time doing it on my own, where nobody else knows about it, because I kind of don't want to be in front of people while I'm screwing up. It's like you want to learn in private. You want to do your experimenting when you can, with nobody around you to judge you or make you feel awkward. So you carry a sketchbook around with you, and you sit on the bus and you draw stuff. Okay, it's really. I think that despite the fact that there are many, many books that will quote unquote teach you how to draw, despite the fact that there are art schools and art classes, at the core of all of them is this thing: you have to start drawing and keep drawing, and you have to make it a regular part of your life. And they would appear to give you the keys to it, but those are the keys. There's just that one key. Start doing it, and you'll get better at it. Anyway, let me go back to showing you this now that my sermon is over. Sandra, if you feel awkward, if people are watching you, then take a sketchbook in the corner, and if they come close to you, slam the book closed. But the fact is that if somebody's watching you draw, they are admiring the fact that you're doing it. And you can just say, I'm just starting out, I'm just learning. And they'll say, but you're so good. I guarantee you they will. Why? Because most people are so intimidated they can't even do it by themselves. So they want to start. They would love to start. You've at least taken that first step of getting a sketchbook and starting. So, it doesn't really matter if they look over your shoulder. But again, if they do, there's a million ways to avoid feeling intimidated, and one of them is to just sit in a coffee shop and draw what's out the window. Sit on a bus in the corner and just draw in your lap. Most people won't pay attention to what you're doing. So, and then if you do that for a month, I did this for this one summer, you make such progress that it doesn't bother you so much. Anyway, so let me go back to where I was. Here we go. All right. This is a drawing I did somewhere else, looking out of the window of the balcony of one of my, looking at west, and I drew this and then I cut it out. I drew it somewhere else and I Xeroxed it and pasted it into this book because I wanted everything together. So, I was writing a lot of stuff too about what I was describing, what I was seeing. Oh, that's right, I made it as a postcard. I sent it to my friend Dan Price, so I made it as a copy because I sent him the drawing. Drawing boats on the water. Jack's toy. Negative space of grapes. And there's Frank sleeping. It's Patty talking on the phone in front of a building. Self-portrait-ish. This is my favorite kind of drawing, it still is, to do, where you take something really complicated like this with all these wires and these bits, and you just spend a lot of time just like really, really studying it and drawing this tangle. If you've taken a drawing a day with Veronica Lawler, she does an exercise like this with an extension cord, which is really great. It's a great way to observe. And again, it's one of those things where nobody really knows if this is what it looks like, so you feel less intimidated because who knows if those cables really did that? Nobody's going to. Drawing faces is much more difficult because people know what faces look like. Nobody knows what drills look like. There's some boats. I really wanted to draw boats, but I found them very difficult. You can see how kind of my proportions are off. But this is all the complexity. This is like that drill drawing. So this is all the complexity of this boat, just breaking it down, drawing bit by bit. Robert has a good point that the writing adds value. Yeah, I mean that's what all these sketchbooks are to me. They're not just drawing; they're a record of where we were going, what we were doing. I mean, I have this record of my son's life when he was 6. You know, drawings of Patty. You know, that I'll obviously never be able to do again. Places where we went to, and stuff we saw, art that I saw in museums. These are lists of galleries that I went to. Here's a drawing in Central Park. Catherine, you can send your suggestions to morgan@sketchbookschool.com. And, you know, here's a funny story about this drawing. I think I did this drawing sitting in Central Park, you know, and I was thinking, I don't know if you've read Catcher in the Rye recently, but there's a scene in Catcher in the Rye where Holden Caulfield talks about wondering where the ducks go in the winter when the ponds freeze. And I think that's what I was thinking about. And in fact, when I first was working on Everyday Matters, I was thinking that would be the name of the book. Before it was called Everyday Matters, I think it was called something like Where the Ducks Go or something. Probably just as well I had to change that name. This is also in Central Park. Just drawing these things growing around a pond, rocks and weeds. Another kind of complicated piece of machinery, a wood chipper. There is the Brooklyn Bridge. That's the top of the World Trade Centers. They were still standing in 1997. You could see them from my house. This is in Brooklyn. See this? I must stop shading. I still say that to myself. It's easy to get just crazy into shading and to just make stuff that looks really messy. You can see I'm struggling here with lots of different things. I was obviously using a pen to do all this cross-hatching, and then I went in with what was probably a brush pen, and I'm adding this heavy black ink, just trying to save this drawing. You know, I'm just struggling obviously a bit with it. Here's a drawing I'd done on a piece of newsprint on the back of a newspaper. Didn't have my sketchbooks with me, so I did that. And I drew this doorway. And I quite like that drawing, so I pasted it in here. Here's a postcard that I found of Marcel Duchamp with half a beard. So I like that, so I drew it. Jack was into dinosaurs then, so I was drawing a lot of that. This is, I think, is at the beach, drawing people and their bodies. Some birds. Another strange self-portrait. Oh yes, this I was sitting at my desk and I looked out the window and I noticed that there was a fire in a building about 4 blocks away from me. I think I was the only person who noticed that there was smoke and fire coming out, and then sure enough, the fireman came. But I drew that to record that moment early in the morning. The zucchini. There's Buzz Lightyear and various other of Jack's toys. Opening, yeah, this is Jack's birthday, which is coming up actually next week, more than 2 weeks, and there he is opening his first presents. And here, this is the end. I wrote here, this is the end of my first sketchbook. I hope to have others. And here's a little newspaper clipping that I made, where I found that somebody was selling Ted Bundy's VW Beetle. So I put that in there for some reason, classified that. Not sure what I thought that was about, but there you have it. Sketchbook number 1. So, thanks for joining me for this. As you can see, you know, my point in bringing this up and sharing this with you was also to show you that urban sketching was just what I did. You know, I mean, I didn't know that's what it was, but as you can see, you know, when I wasn't drawing my family, when I wasn't drawing stuff in, I don't know, in photos, most of what I was doing was just drawing stuff in the streets, stuff on the subway, that kind of thing. Jennifer wants to know if I carry a seat of some sorts. You know, I've had several different kinds of seats. I have a kind that is, actually, if you hold on a second, I'll go and get it. Why not? You're live. Hold on. Finally come out of the closet. Okay, so this is one that I carry around quite a lot. It's aluminum, plastic with this thing, so it's pretty light, and it has a little carrying strap, so you can easily throw this in a backpack. It sticks out a little bit. And then I have this, which is a camp stool, and this is so small, if you can figure it out. So, yeah, so it basically sits like that. And then so you're sitting not far off the ground, but the whole thing, it's steel, so it's reasonably heavy, but it's so small, you see it's the size of my head. So you can easily fit that into your backpack. So yes, I carry those around with me, but honestly, neither of them is terribly comfortable. The latter one I showed you, you're sitting kind of low to the ground, but you do have something. But you know, generally, I would say most of the time, I look for a comfortable place to sit. Find a comfortable place to sit down, and then look around like, what am I going to draw? You know, what is there to see? And as you can see from that sketchbook, a lot of the stuff I'm drawing isn't particularly great. I mean, like for instance, that example when I was in the Rockefeller Center, I'm drawing. You know, I could have been drawing that statue of the Atlas holding the giant thing, but I couldn't really see it from where I was, and so I ended up drawing like through the bushes and people passing and a little tiny bit of the sculpture. Just too lazy and too resistant to being uncomfortable. So anyway, the point is that you know you can sit where you like. You can you know, it doesn't really matter because again, I'm not trying to draw some perfect drawing of anything. I'm just trying to have the experience of drawing, so I might as well be comfortable. What do I think about sketching on an iPad or any of the tablets? Well, Alex, I actually spent the weekend sketching on my iPad. I've been having a lot of fun with that. But I would strongly, strongly, strongly urge anybody who's starting out to not do it on an iPad. As I said, this is my first sketchbook. It took me 20 years to get to the point of drawing on an iPad. Start with a pen. Wherever my little pen is. Start with a really basic pen like I did. A pen, this is a Uniball, and a sketchbook. This cost me like $5. Start there. Start there, and then get to the iPad. The iPad is too many choices. And it's not it's not an extension of who you are. I spent this entire summer struggling with trying to figure out how to draw on an iPad. It's not intuitive. I believe it's an advanced skill, you know. So I would say start out simply, organically. Don't make a big deal out of it, you know. I mean, yeah, you could draw on your phone with your finger, I guess, but don't. Just start with a little pen. You know, draw on anything. You saw I was drawing on the backs of bits of newspaper. That's the main thing. What else? I've been. Let's see. You know, you can also sit on the ground. I know it's going to be humiliating. You know, the danger is if you're sitting on the ground and you have a cup for watercolors next to you. You know, you could pick up a little bit of loose change while you're at it. But generally, I would say just get comfortable. You know, wherever you are, and the main thing is to think of like I feel like drawing as opposed to I want to do a drawing of X. Start with the I feel like drawing thing, and then you get more and more, you know, sort of fluid with it, comfortable with it. Any other questions here? I don't see any other questions that I haven't answered. So, good. Well, yes, I know. I'm getting too old to sit on the ground too, Elspeth. I know. That's why. I mean, if you want to get fancy, there are sort of bags that converts into seats. There was a time when I had one of these big folding chairs that had cup holders and armrests, and I would put an inkwell in the cup holder, and that was great for going about 2 blocks. And I guess if I had a car, you could keep that in the back of your car. It's nice to sit in your car and draw. It's a very comfortable place to sit. You can turn on some music and so forth. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now. I just want to say one more time that if you're at all considering doing urban sketching, please do. Please do join us for this course, because I think it will be a lot of fun. It'll be a great opportunity to kind of get into the habit, to see how a lot of other people do this. But even if you're not going to join us in the course, try this practice of just carrying a book around with you and drawing whatever you see. I think you'll be surprised at how much you accomplish and how easily it integrates into your life. I think it's far preferable to really drawing just from a book or copying things from photographs and that kind of thing. I think it's really the way to make drawing an organic part of your life and getting going. I see a couple more questions. Do you use composition cards or a clear grid? God, no. No, Ashley, I don't use anything like that. At worst, I'll use a thing. Guys, I have to go. All hell's breaking loose here, but thanks very much for hanging out with me. Bye-bye.